Before this morning's question without notice session, the National Parliament Speaker, Job Pomat, invited the President of the Autonomous Region of Bougainville, Chief John Momis, to address national leaders. On the eve of Bougainville's referendum to determine its political future, Chief Momis, who was also instrumental in developing PNG's national constitution, called for understanding from national MPs, especially in regards to the issues on Bougainville. Issues which led to the Bougainville conflict and events that shaped the current autonomous arrangements. Much of the focus of Chief Momis's address was aimed at calling for more understanding from national leaders about the plight of Bougainvilleans and why there continued to be a push for political independence, a notion that began well before PNG gained independence in 1975.
The origins of that interest go back at least as far as the early years after the Second World War. Probably began with resentment of the colonial administration's neglect of development of Bougainville. Then, in the mid-1960s, came the massive change brought to Bougainville by the copper and gold mine, which began operating in 1972 by BCL.
Whilst Bougainville will go to the polls to choose between greater autonomy and independence, President Momis also reminded the National Parliament that they had the final say on how this vote would be accepted, a huge responsibility enshrined in PNG's constitution.
The requirement that there must be a referendum on Bougainville's political future, which must include independence for Bougainville, is contained in the Bougainville Peace Agreement. But in addition, that agreement has been given effect by provisions of the PNG Constitution. Both governments must be prepared to negotiate in good faith, whatever the outcome. They must be ready to negotiate hard with the aim of getting an outcome that is acceptable to both sides. Mr. Speaker, the aim of any referendum is to determine what the people think about important issues. So the key thing that must be taken into account in the consultation after the referendum will be the numbers of people that vote for each option: independence and greater autonomy.
This may well be President Momis's final address to the National Parliament. Given his role in shaping PNG's constitution, he also reminded national leaders to think of the future of Bougainville to ensure a peaceful outcome.
Both governments must be ready to continue their cooperation and work to avoid any renewal of conflict. The two governments need to work together. They have the privilege, the rare privilege, of together attempting to develop something new that will contribute to continued peace. Just as the peace agreement was a remarkably successful set of arrangements, we now have the opportunity to again develop something new, something extraordinary.